Yeah, that's still quite modern historically wise.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, I mean, well, not for certain countries. Slight dig there. For us, it's nothing. It's a blink because we've got so much history.
Well,
it's
but
unbelievable.
well, I don't know how old is actual England itself?
Um,
Not that old, really.
over 2,500.
Is it? Is that a case of though, like your grandfather's axe?
Well, I mean, the ancient.
Because I mean, people have been here for a long time, but people have been in America for a long time and it wasn't the Americans that went to America and stole all the land from the Native Americans. It was the English that went to America and stole the land.
It was the English.
Then they became American. It was the English that went there and took everything.
I always think it's funny because the American Revolution wasn't really.
English people.
It was just a civil war. It was an English civil war. Even the German Hessians, who were basically our mercenaries at the time, were like, this is literally just an Irish, Anglo-Scotch civil war. That's all it was. There was no Americans involved. It was just English people arguing with other English people about whether they wanted to stay English. That's all it was.
To be fair, all for them. I mean, if you don't like the place you're at and you have the chance to go somewhere else, cool, that's nice.
Absolutely.
And then the people you don't want to be with come across and say, "Ah, no, we don't like you doing this. You still have to do what we want." Well, we don't want to.
Well, the funny thing was, it started off because we won the 7 Years' War against the French to basically protect the lands in North America, so Canada and the States. And then what happened was, we went, we're just going to give you a little bit of a more tax, because it cost quite a lot of money to do that. And
It was starting a whole new colony, weren't they, basically?
Yeah, but the funny thing was, they actually had the lowest, well, one of the lowest tax rates that we had. They had lower taxes than actual English people did. So
no one likes tax.
No one likes tax. But when you have the lowest tax rate and you're just being a sour little horrible person, then...
But didn't they sort of... It wasn't just taxes. They didn't really like the monarchy and stuff like that as well, wasn't it? It was like, we don't want a monarchy.
There was less about the monarchy and more about the sort of... I don't like that's so far away. We should have some form of representation here, which is what we did with Canada. And we gave Canada a Governor General, and the Canadians were happy with that.
See, that makes complete sense. I mean, nowadays you think, well, you're not far away, but then to get a message from England to America, you're talking probably, I don't know, a few months or something.
I think it took about 2 months via sailing ship.
Yeah. Now you think, well, that's just silly because we could just make a phone call and everything's cool and everything can run smoothly. But yeah, it'd be like having a colony on Mars now.
Yeah.
And they would, if there was enough people there, they would go, oh, why does Earth have to dictate all our rules? Then they're not here. They're not on the spot. They don't know what's going on.
And I think,
well, that's fair enough, actually.
So there was a little bit of that, and they didn't like the fact that we told them we've made deals with the natives. You can't expand past a certain point.
Well, that's on them then, because that sounds like for once the English were actually doing something right.
Oh, we made deals with them. We had deals with the natives to say that we weren't going to expand past a certain point, and the actual declaration that the US wrote deliberately complains about that as a reason for independence.
Well, that's a bit mean. Okay, that is on the Americans.
So, and which ties into we don't want to be told what to do. We want to be told.
Pretty much, yeah.
We want to do our own thing. You don't let us expand. We want to expand. We're going to be independent, and that's basically what happened.
Yeah, that's sort of like, well, no, maybe not sure if we should. expanding their territories, but you told me I can't, so I'm going to.
That's literally what happened. And
it does sound silly, but I mean, people are like that.
Well, the funny thing is, in the War of 1812, we had, this is my baby, the War of 1812. So we had tons and tons of deals with the natives. In a sense of just, you're our allies historically. If you team up with us, help us defeat the Americans, job done, sort of thing. Which is what happened.
You'll be free.
Yeah, which is what happened.
You'll be able to keep living your life in your land.
Which is exactly what happened. They moved to Canada. A lot of them moved to Canada because we offered them protection. Do you want to know something funny as well? So when when the French and the Spanish win the war for the States, because they do all the heavy lifting.
Oh, the Spanish were horrible in the South.
But what happens is, all the black freemen who had been fighting for the British are demanded to be turned back over to the Americans. And the British say no. We just say no. We just say no. We're not going to give you back the slaves. They're free men who fought for the British, and they all escaped to Canada, and we got them to Canada at the end of the war.
That sounds nice. The British were responsible for a lot of slavery.
Oh, but we also were almost single-handedly responsible for abolishing it.
I suppose this swings around, man.
If you think about the West Africa Squadron, which was basically in charge of decimating the Atlantic slave trade, we spent more than anything in history getting rid of them and actually eliminating those slave ships. The West Africa Squadron was responsible for stopping thousands upon thousands of slave ships, and any slave who set foot on a Royal Navy warship instantly became a free man. Instantly.
It's like Dune.
Yeah.
Which became a Fremen.
You instantly became a free man if you were a slave and you stepped foot on a Royal Navy warship. And I always thought that was quite a noble, nice thing.
That's quite a good rule.
And it was funny because the French and the Spanish helped the Americans, and oh my god, French and the Spanish helped the Americans, and within about a decade of beating us, the French are bankrupt due to spending all their money on beating us and doing the heavy lifting, that they have a revolution.
And the Spanish went bankrupt because they had all the gold from South America.
Yeah. So the French have a revolution because they're bankrupt from fighting us. Do the Americans then help the French? Nope. So the French end up getting screwed over by going bankrupt fighting us because they're bitter from the 7 Years' War. And then the Americans say, no, we're all right, lad. And leave them to it.
Thanks for your help.
So what happens is that the French go, well, what was the point of all that? We've now basically wasted our time doing that. We've lost all our land. And then, of course, they sell all the land in the States to the Americans too, because they've got no money. So that's it. And then there's a statement in Parliament by, I can't remember who it was, but it was a certain MP at the time, who basically goes, if the French had had a little bit more foresight, perhaps they'd have still been a great power, and perhaps they'd be less bad about the colonies. And it's a case of, they sort of screwed themselves over.
It's all very, very, very clever men doing... Or people. I say people because I'm sure there's probably some women involved in it.
Yep.
Doing very subtle and long-sighted manipulation.
But I just always thought it was funny how the French spent all this time and money only to get screwed over themselves and basically have an entire revolution of their country. I just thought it's
Well,
the ultimate sort of British, ha ha, there's karma, sort of thing.
Well, you can imagine what the French people were thinking, and they were like, "Why are you ruining us? Why are you doing this, government? Why are you? This is so far away. It doesn't really affect us.
Yep.
If they want to fight amongst themselves, let them fight amongst themselves.
Yep.
Why are we spending all our stuff, the stuff that should be used for us? Why are we spending it all to help this little family squabble? Oh, don't worry, it'll be fine.
there was basically
well,
an English
didn't turn
Civil
out
War.
fine, did it?
No, it didn't
Yeah,
turn out fine. They got screwed.
It's a family squabble, and it's like the neighbour coming around and going, "Do you want me to mediate?" He said, "Well, it's only gonna be bad. Either way, the outcome is not going to be good for whoever steps in and says, 'Do you want me to mediate?'"
No. And another fun fact. So during the revolution, the Spanish join in, right? So they're like, okay, the Brits will be weak. Bear in mind, we commit about 5 to 10% of Empire troops to the colonies to fight. We don't really care that much. Jamaica, Bermuda, and the islands in the Caribbean make far more money than the colonies do. The colonies don't make any money. Then they're actually a bit of a pit, really. So we don't care that much. We commit about 5 to 10% of Empire troops to the continent to actually fight them. So Spain goes, we're going to take advantage of this. We're going to take Gibraltar. So we've had Gibraltar for a number of years at this point. It's basically a fortress. The Rock of Gibraltar is literally just a fortress that we've made.
It's like the prison, the Rock.
Yeah. So what they do is they siege it. They siege it for about 4 to 5 years. Now, more Spanish died in the siege of Gibraltar over those 4 or 5 years than the entirety of American troops in the Revolutionary War. The entirety of every battle combined, more Spanish died during the siege of Gibraltar than Americans did during the Revolutionary War. Which shows you either they're not very good, or that was actually quite a significant little war going on. And we won, of course, which is why even today we still have Gibraltar. So,
of course.
And a load of contemporary historians agree that if we had given up Gibraltar, we probably would have beat the Americans and the French and the Spanish. But because we kept Gibraltar and kept supplying it and kept supporting it with squadrons, because it was more important at the end of the day, because it was a continental, it's in Europe, and we're still fighting the great powers.
Yeah, it's pretty close to us.
So it's more important for us.
And certainly when it comes to Europe as well, what makes it even worse, it is complete family feuding, because all the royal families of Europe are the same royal family.
Yep.
And that's what I think I really hate. I was going to say I hate about history. It's not what I hate about history. That's what I hate about it all. It's one family. It's like, oh yeah, the guy who runs Germany, he's my brother, and the guy that runs Poland, that's my brother, and my sister is Tsarina of Russia. We're all interbred, but I don't like what my brother said about me, so my country now has to fight my brother's country. Well, we don't all want to die because of your family feud.
No, that's the thing.
No, that's what, for me, that's what makes it absolutely disgusting. It's like, you have a country, for God's sake. If you can't get on with your brother who has a country of his own, you don't start pulling each other's hair out round the kitchen dining table. You just leave each other alone, okay? It doesn't scale properly. If you want to punch each other in the arm, when you're at home and make your brother cry, fine. But that's a bit different to saying, oh, he offended me, so I'm going to send 100,000 troops to just die. No, that's not the same thing. You can't do that. Which is basically what all of Europe's fights are.
Yep. So what happens is, after that, the French Revolution happens. France changes absolutely completely. Napoleon comes back in, reinstates slavery, because slavery had been abolished in France. Napoleon brings back slavery basically becomes a dictator. During which America goes, we're going to invade Canada because we want Canada. So they invade Canada, or start to. Which
at that time, I'm assuming that's
the War of 1812.
That was a French colony, was it?
No, that was our colony. That was then British North America, because obviously in the 7 Years' War, that's when we got Canada, because we beat the French.
But why is it all French?
Some of it was still French, but that's because a lot of the expats, well, a lot of the actual civilians were French, and we didn't force them to speak English because we're not genocidal. Well, at that time, we were not genocidal.
Yeah.
So we didn't force them to speak English, because the people in Canada were basically loyalists. So they were English and they were loyalists, and they were slightly more tolerant than the Americans were. So that's what happened. Mm. So America starts to invade Canada. That's the War of 1812. We beat America in 1815, the same time roughly when Wellington beats Napoleon at Waterloo. The two treaties, one is at Ghent, which is the War of 1812 treaty, and one is at Vienna, which is the big one. We care about Vienna. So we go to Ghent, we basically say, right, Americans, we're sick of you. Put it back to how it was. You're not having any land. We won a defensive war. You're not stopping any of our maritime belligerent rights, which is what we care about, because we're a sea power, so we don't want anyone infringing on our maritime rights. And the Americans go, well, we want you to stop impressment, because that was one of the reasons for us going to war. And we just go, no, you can't stop any of our maritime rights, if we said, and the Americans have to sign it, because Madison, the American president, writes to Congress to say, we literally can't make any demands, because he says we can't make any demands of the British due to the fiscal situation they're in, because they're broke, because we've basically blockaded the entire coast with Royal Navy squadrons, and there is no trade, and they're just absolutely bankrupt. They can't pay their own troops. There's no money in America. We were running out of money because we were fighting 2 wars. But we weren't actually out of money yet. The Americans were. So they had to sue for peace, which is what happens. So
crazy, isn't it?
We beat the Americans in 1815. Same time we beat Napoleon. And then that leads to the imperial century of Britain from 1815 to 1915, where it is, in relative terms, the peacest century we've ever seen in terms of battles and conflicts fought.
You're so excited you said peacist.
Peacist. Yeah. So
you invented a new word.
I did.
That is the superlative for most peaceful. Peacist.
Peacist.
Peacier. Peacist.
Peace. Have you got some wool? Let's go put it in the monument.
I put it here. Well, I don't know if you want to take a quick break to make an easy. Let's start recording again.
We could do. I might just keep it all in and just make it a history.
Unless you want to keep the history lesson in.
Let's keep it in.
I might go to the toilet anyway. We've only got. Are we finishing? Because we've only got 2 wool.
No, we've got grey and light and cyan. So I'm thinking now.
You didn't give me any grey. I didn't know anything about what was happening in the Obsidian Tower because no one told me anything.
No, it was very boring. It literally is. There was a wool box right at the very top, and I just built a staircase round to it. That's all. It was very boring. There weren't many mobs apart from the bottom floor. Once I lit that up, it was fine.
That does sound quite boring.
So I've given you some grey. You've got some.
Okay. I've got a grey and a cyan. Let's go and do that. Then come back and we'll have a 5-minute break.
Do you want to have a nap first? Because we might die on the way.
Yeah, let's do that.
And then, do you fancy doing some nether? Because we don't have to bridge then.
Yeah. Well, we've got gold. We've got diamond. Oh.
So maybe we should do some nether.
Oh. And we've got enough. And we've got enough diamonds. How many? I've got 3 stacks of 9 in this chest. So we've got enough that if we die, we don't have to go and mine anymore yet. It's just like, meh, just make some more. Cool.
Let's go put this away. Did you say you'd cook up some more food? Because I'm kind of out.
Yeah, do you want some food? I got loads. I was coming to get you,
food.
but you came back.
I know. Hello, zombie. We're busy.
That's half of all my food.
Thank you. Okay, so next we'll go to the Nether, and
yeah, you try Nether next. Nether next.
Do you want to try that big fortress and just think? Because I mean, we're not going to get any more kitted up now, are we? So we're just going to put it off otherwise.
The only thing we could do is add enchantments, but that's just loads of XP gathering and stuff. I've got 33 XP now, so I'm going to try and enchant some.
I've got 25, so I might do the same. Where's Cyan live?
Ah, next to the ground.
Oh, look at this.
How many left? 1,
two,
2,
3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, diamond! We could have done diamond.
Oh, we could have done. Okay, we'll do that once we've done the Nether. Please. Crazy. Crazy man. Okay, let's go home. Let's have a break, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Alright, see you later. I'll tell you how to have some floor there.